Hi, everyone. Welcome to our LA County Library virtual event, Tour LA County Natural Area Parks. I'm Anne, a librarian with LA County Library. I'll be your host. Today's program is sponsored by Edison International and LA County Library Foundation. And we're excited to actually have our LA County Department of Parks and Recreation here with us. They're going to take us on a tour of some of our natural area parks throughout LA County. And our tour guide today is going to be Richard Smart, who is a regional park superintendent with Parks and Recreation. And we'll also have joining us today Jonathan Newmer from Devil's Punchbowl and Tatiana Gardner from Stoneview Nature Center. So I do want to mention after the program, we do send out an email and there's going to be a brief survey. If you can please fill that out, that'll definitely help us. Any feedback will help us in terms of our future programming. And if you have any questions throughout the program, please feel free to type them in the chat box. It'll be on the right-hand side of the screen. Um, your cameras and mic are turned off, but we'll be checking the questions in the chat box throughout the program. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A, and we'll definitely answer your questions. Now, without any further delay, I do want to introduce Richard. Richard, are you ready?
I'm ready and I'm excited. So I do want to say hello to everybody. And thank you for joining us on this tour of LA County's natural area parks. Before we get started with today's tour, I do want to know if you took the tour with us last July, last month, where we visited 3 other parks. I want you to wave your hand really high and really fast so I can see you. All right, I see you. I remember you, and I remember you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Awesome. So glad y'all are coming back for a second tour. Um, on that first tour, you may remember that we visited Vasquez Rocks Nature Center, the Wildlife Sanctuaries, and San Dimas Canyon Nature Centers. We visited 3 parks last month, and we're going to visit 3 more today. But I also want to say hi to all of my friends who are taking the tour for the very first time. So wave your hand really high and really fast so I can see you. I want to see all my new friends who are out there. All right, seeing lots of hands waving. Welcome to this tour of LA County's nature parks. All right, I'm about to share my screen because I'm going to show you some photos to make sure that you can see what we have. I just need the share content button. To be activated. Holding for a little bit.
There's a little bit of delay, but we're getting there.
Sounds good. The purpose of this slideshow that we're going to start at the beginning is just to make sure, since we're doing a virtual tour, and unfortunately we can't all be together at one of the parks, a chance for you to see some photos of some of the different areas. All right, we have the share going, and let's start our slideshow. So we are going to take a tour today of LA County's natural area parks. And up here I have our motto. It says learn, respect, appreciate, and protect. So we are going to talk a little bit about our motto, and our website's on here, but don't worry if you don't write it down now. I'll be showing this website multiple times, and my great librarian friends will be sharing a lot of this contact information with you all in follow-up emails, so you will have all this information. All right, so today I mentioned we're going to take a tour and visit 3 parks, virtually of course. But today we're going to visit Placerita Canyon Nature Center, the Devil's Punchbowl, and Stoneview Nature Center, which is the nature center that I am from. Our panelist joining us, Frank Hoffman, recorded a video for us. So he'll be joining us through a video, but we will have Jonathan Newmer live. He will be a part of our show today talking about the Devil's Punchbowl Nature Center. And then my coworker and friend, Tatiana Gardner, she will join me live as we talk about Stoneview Nature Center. So we have a great show for you all. Now, as I did on the last tour, I do want to make sure you all know what a natural area is. Because a natural area park is not like your neighborhood community park. I love those types of parks because I can play hide and seek there. I can play basketball there. I can play soccer, softball, just hang out with my friends. At a natural area park, though, it's a big space that is essentially for people and for wildlife, and to preserve that wildlife, protect that geology, and protect that rich cultural history of what was once there and what is many times still there. So a natural area park is a place, I like to say, for people and for wildlife and for nature. We're very lucky that here in the County of Los Angeles, our Parks and Rec department, we operate 8 different nature centers. And again, don't worry if you don't get a chance to take a photo of this map. I will be sharing this again, and we will be able to email this out to you all as well. But if you look at this map, what I want you all to kind of take away from here is that there should be a nature center near you, no matter where you live in Los Angeles. We have nature centers in the north, in the south, the east, and the west, and in the central parts of Los Angeles, going all the way from the Antelope Valley all the way down to San Pedro. So there are lots of different natural area parks, and of course, our wonderful wildlife and wildflower sanctuaries. So we are protecting over 6,000 acres of land with these natural area parks. And we hope that you'll be able to visit at least one of our nature centers, if not possibly all 8. And our mission here is to get people to come to the nature centers so that you can learn more about your natural environment and hopefully walk away after your visit having a greater appreciation for it. Really trying to maintain these parks, again, for us and for wildlife, but also for future generations. So we are here to protect this land and to help build connections to this land. Now, I want you to make sure you understand when you visit a natural area park, you're going to see lots of trails that you can walk on, and the trails vary from each different natural area park. Some parks have very steep trails, some have flat trails, some have trails that have concrete or grass, some have a lot of dirt. You might see wildlife. It could be anything from a tortoise to a lizard to a butterfly and birds, even rabbits and squirrels, all sorts of wildlife. So that wherever you go, you're going to see beautiful scenery. And it does vary what you will see. The different types of plants and animals we see will vary from each different location. So it's always neat to visit the different parks. But I guarantee you'll see beautiful scenery and hike on some lovely trails. But also when you come to a nature center, you're also get a chance to look at some exhibits. Some of the nature centers have museums inside that will have really neat displays. Some have animals on display, and some will also have lots of different classes you can take. Everything from a story time program to summer camps to arts and crafts activities. And you might be even to catch an animal ambassador presentation. That's our colleague Colleen over there at Whittier Narrows, who is really great with animals, and she can give some of the best presentations regarding wildlife, how to protect wildlife, and to talk about our Animal Ambassador program. So we encourage you all when you come to a nature center to don't just hike the trails and take in the scenery, but also come into the building, find out what classes are taking place, how you can become involved, and take a chance to go and see some of the different exhibits. All right, so I'm going to be going a quick, again, overview. I wanted you to see a picture of Frank before we show you. But again, Frank will be here virtually through a video talking about the beautiful Placerita Canyon Nature Center. Jonathan Newmer will be here talking about the Devil's Punchbowl Nature Center and the work he's doing, the really important work he's doing. And then last but not least, Tatiana Gardner and myself will talk about our beautiful nature center, which is Stoneview Nature Center. So we're going to virtually visit 3 different parks today. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, let's get ready to virtually visit Placerita Canyon Nature Center. And we're going to start that by watching a video.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ranger Frank, and welcome to the Placerita Canyon Nature Center. Another incredible feature you're going to see here at the Placerita Canyon Nature Center is our historic Walker cabin. Originally built in 1920 by Frank Walker and his sons, the Walker family. This cabin has been standing since 1920. We're about to celebrate its 100th anniversary. You got to see inside. Check this out. He lived here with his wife Hortense. Hortense and he raised 12 children in this one of his many cabins throughout the whole valley. He had several. This is the one he moved his family to into the winter, which would allow them a closer distance to school. They had to walk to school, barefoot, until the teacher saw that, and then she sent little Melba home. Tell your parents you need to get shoes on. And anyway, so it was closer to the schools, closer to the Santa Clarita Valley and all of its amenities, including Newhall Ice that was probably open back then in the day. Pretty cool stuff. I've met actually several of the children that were born here, including Melba. And she would tell us stories about what life was like back in the 1920s. They would sleep outside in hammocks. They were ranchers, they were farmers. Certainly Frank was a brilliant man. He is credited with figuring out how to separate the water from the natural oil that bubbled out of the ground. Had a permanent gas line to his house. And so he always had gas to cook, gas to heat the home. Of course, he built the fireplace and chimney, to begin with. You could cook and then you can stay warm while you're building the rest of the property. Unfortunately today, all 12 children have passed, but because Frank was so smart, did what he did, he, in his dedication of the land to the state of California, allowed it to remain as a natural open area park that generation after generation of Walker children could visit. And in fact, I see the grandchildren today. Some of them know me by name, some of them know me by face, but they all come in, and if I ever get a chance to open up the cabin for them, I do. I'm standing before you and before State Historic Marker number 168, the famous Oak of the Golden Dream. Some folks think this oak tree, Quercus agrifolia, coast live oak, is close to 200 years old. It would have to be close to that age because on March 9th of 1842, Francisco Lopez was taking a nap under an oak tree on a sycamore grove here, and he uprooted some wild onions, searching, some would say, for something to eat on location, some would suggest to make a stew. In any event, it's when he pulled these wild onions out of the ground that gold was first discovered here at the Placerita Nature Center. This predated Sutter's discovery by 6 years. We recognize this discovery with a mural in our tunnel that leads under the Placerita Canyon Road. Hello again, everybody. You know, in the natural areas, we get a lot of questions. And one of the most common questions we get is how to tell the difference between a venomous and a non-venomous snake. It's a San Diego gopher snake, and is typical of the snakes you'll find in this area and throughout most of Southern California. There's two ways that I try to help people determine venomous from non-venomous. Looking at the head, looking at the tail. If you look at the head on a gopher snake, the head and the neck and the body are almost like the shape of your thumb. The head and the neck and the body, the width are about the same. At the end of the body, the tail, snakes in California that do not have venom have long, skinny, pointy tails. This would be inclusive of king snakes, gopher snakes, whiptail snakes, racers, glossy snakes, these other non-venomous snakes. A rattlesnake, on the other hand, a rattlesnake has a head that is shaped like a triangle, if you will. If you notice the head compared to the head of a gopher snake, you can see clearly they're different. The neck is very thin, the body's very big and fat, and the end of the tail is flat. It's flat straight across. It's not long and tapered to a point. And one of the rumors we also dispel about rattlesnakes is that you cannot tell how old a rattlesnake is by counting the rattles. That's an old myth. We dispel a lot of myths in the natural areas, that being one of them. Other things we like to teach about snakes are that, of course, they do not have eyelids. They cannot close their eyes. They even sleep with their eyes wide open. They smell with their tongue. They will use their tongue, their forked tongue, to collect molecules in the air, placing them in the roof of their mouth once inside and into something called a Jacobson's organ. And the Jacobson's organ is what will detect which direction the molecules were collected from, or which side of the tongue the molecules were collected from, which will then send the snake in that direction after its prey. They are, like a lot of other snakes, an ambush predator. They will wait near a trailhead where mice and rats might have been frequenting, and when that rat or mouse comes by again, then the snake is going to grab it. Rattlesnake, gopher snake, almost snakes. So that's a big deal. Another thing that I like people to know for sure when they come to our nature center here at Placerita and most everywhere else is that snakes have bones. People don't think that this animal has bones. It is a vertebrate animal.
Connection issue
Thank you.
Here, and it seems to be buffering.
Yeah, when you visit Placerita, you'll notice that we have different, what we call biotic plant communities. We have 5 combined here in the canyon, including the chaparral, the oak woodland, the riparian woodland, the coastal sage scrub, and the big cone spruce. That's our pine forest. Once you get up in higher in elevation, up on the other end of the park, you got to start seeing that at about 1,800 feet. Because these plant communities all overlap with each other, the animals too, that are what we could consider indicator species, are overlapping as well. You'll see scrub jays in the chaparral. You'll see deer fawn in the oak woodland. And of course, hawks in the sky everywhere. Red-tailed hawks, red-shouldered hawks, Cooper's hawks. Everything as big as a hawk down to little hummingbirds. In fact, it's a great place to come birding.
I hope you all enjoyed that video. I think it's a beautiful video, and Frank is such a good personality. I think he's very nice, he's very engaging, he's very funny, and super smart and knowledgeable. So let's talk a little bit about what he taught us on his virtual tour. He talked about snakes, and he talked about that there are venomous and there's non-venomous snakes. And he was holding a snake that is part of the Animal Ambassador program at Placerita. Do you all remember the name of that snake that he was holding? The non-venomous snake? I think I heard someone say gopher snake, and it is. It was a type of gopher snake that is a part of their animal ambassador program. The rattlesnake he showed was not alive. It was preserved. But it was good. I liked how he was able to show us the different head shapes that we can help us learn about venomous and non-venomous, and how the different tails. We got non-venomous snakes have long pointy tails, and then the venomous snakes, they have those flat tails, and then the shapes of the head with the triangle shape for the venomous ones. I heard someone say it, very good. And then for non-venomous, talking about how the head and the rest of the body is about the same width. So really interesting stuff. Before we go on to our next presenter, I did want to give you all a tip. Remember, before you go visit one of our nature centers or parks, I always recommend you call ahead just to make sure that, number one, the park is open on the day that you want to visit. The nature centers here for LA County, we are open Tuesday through Sunday, so we are closed on Mondays. But it's always good to call ahead to verify that they are going to be open that day, that the hours are working, that the hours, you know what hours they open and close, and the people on the phone can give you other tips as well. Now, without further ado, I do want to send it over to my colleague, Jonathan Newmer, who is the superintendent for the Devil's Punchbowl, and it's a really great place. So, Jonathan, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you very much. As he said, my name is Jonathan Newmer. I've worked for the County of Los Angeles for about 20 years, and before that, I spent lots of time volunteering for the parks. I spent most of my time actually at Devil's Punchbowl. I grew up nearby and grew up at the park itself, so I have always loved this beautiful park. In fact, I'd actually like to share some photos while I'm talking about the park. So I'm going to get on there and share. I hope you all can see this beautiful photo of Devil's Punchbowl sandstone in the snow. The Devil's Punchbowl is higher in elevation. It's about 4,740 feet in elevation. And we regularly get snow at the park. It's a sandstone rock formation. So all these rocks were actually just like sand that you find in the desert a long time ago, many millions of years ago, about 13 million years ago. They were buried very deep in the ground, and they then turned into stone. Minerals grew between the sand grains and lithified the rock, making it a solid rock. And then as the mountains grew, it lifted up the sandstone into tilted angles that you see today. So let's go through a couple more photos. We get beautiful rainbows, lovely clouds. The types of wildlife we have in the park are gray foxes, mountain lions, black bears, lots of birds of prey. This environment here that you see, we had lots of pinyon pines. Pinyon pines were pretty common in the park. They're very slow growing pines. Unfortunately, the Devil's Punchbowl was affected by the bobcat fire last year in September. On September 16th, the bobcat fire burned through the park. It devastated the park, scorching a lot of the trees, a lot of the plants. A lot of the shrubs are already growing back. In fact, here you see a mule deer, a female mule deer, a doe. She's going for a walk in the mountains. I've seen gray foxes since the fire. This is one that was spotted after the fire. This is a picture immediately after the fire. We do have a video that we're going to present of what the park actually looks like now. We do have some regrowth, but you can actually see the ground is still smoldering in this photo. So and unfortunately, we lost our visitor center. We had a beautiful little tiny visitor center, but lots of fun fun things to see. We had live animals. Fortunately, we evacuated all of the animals before the fire hit. This building was lost though, so we will have another building available as a visitor center when we do reopen. We are actually currently closed until next spring. This is our old visitor center on the inside. And let's see, that should be good for the video photo tour, but the beautiful rocks still remain, and a lot of the vegetation is chaparral, and it will grow back. And the pine trees will take a little bit longer, but we'll be here to watch them grow. Thank you.
So I want to mention, someone asked a question of what cities are near Devil's Punchbowl?
Okay, the closest city would be Pear Blossom, Little Rock, and Palmdale, Lancaster. So those are the closest cities to Devil's Punchbowl. We are on the north side of the San Gabriel Mountains.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to show a video that you have made.
Yes, this is going to be the regrowth, what we're seeing now after the fire.
That video, I think, is very inspiring, and hearing Jonathan talk about how just last September, the Bobcat fire really affected Devil's Punchbowl. And almost exactly a year later, the video footage he shared with me earlier this summer, there's already lots of regrowth happening. He's seen animals there. Large mammals or small mammals like the gray fox, but even large mammals like the mule deer back. It's really, really great. One thing I also want to mention, Jonathan is the person who filmed the Devil's Punchbowl video. He filmed the Placerita video that featured Frank, and some of you remember that we had videos previously on the other tour, and Jonathan filmed those as well. So he not only has skills as a nature person, but also skills as a film person. He's really good with editing and filming. So it's really neat to be able to use all your different skills in different ways to help people connect to nature. So if some of you out there like making videos, whether it's for social media, for your parents, for your family, you could end up still getting a job at working for a nature center, because we do like to have video to show people about what's going on at the park. All right, before we go on to the next spot on our tour, I want to talk a little bit about when we visit these amazing nature centers and natural area parks, we do want to make sure we stay on the trail. We like to stay on the trail so we don't step on any plants, and also so we don't accidentally step on any wildlife, whether it's something small like a cricket or a caterpillar, or stepping on eggs, or some animals' home. So we want to stay on the trail. We're visiting these natural area parks, but the animals that live there, it's their home. So we have to be very respectful. So when you go to visit these parks and you stop in that nature center, you can always ask them, what are the rules for the visiting here? But one of the biggest rules, and it's consistent throughout, is staying on the trail. All right. Now, I'm excited to work with my colleague, Tatiana. She's my friend and coworker. We both work here at Stoneview Nature Center, and she is going to take you on a tour of our wonderful park. So, Tatiana, take it away.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, everybody. My name is Tatiana Gardner, and I work here at Stoneview Nature Center. I am going to take you on a tour of Stoneview and give you some information and details about our beautiful and amazing park. So welcome to Stoneview Nature Center. Stoneview is located in Culver City, California. The park offers distinct programming with education about healthy food, healthy interactions between humans and wildlife, as well as gardens and exhibits that offer a sustainable and healthy urban ecosystem. So Stoneview Nature Center is 5 acres of natural area park. Stoneview opened back in April of 2017. It is located in Culver City, and as you can see in these pictures, we have many amenities, one including an outdoor kitchen and 5 acres of garden. Stoneview is the first nature center within the 2nd district. It is the first urban nature center that was formerly operated as an elementary school that opened in 1956 all the way until 1918, and it was known as Linda Vista Elementary School. It remained as a school site up until 2010. The site remained vacant from 2010 all the way till 2015. So as you can see in these pictures, the entire space was vacant and nobody was making use of it. But 2 years later, in 2017, this is a ribbon cutting of the amazing Stoneview Nature Center. And you can see how on the picture on the top right-hand side, everything is so small. So if you come and visit the Nature Center now, it looks totally different than what you see right now on your screens. These are some of the amenities that we have at the Nature Centers. So you have a yoga deck that you could come anytime that is open for you to relax and meditate. Then there's also a meditation labyrinth that it's used as a multi-purpose space, because not only could people walk and meditate, but it also serves as an overflow parking if we are too busy during the weekends. We love dogs and we welcome them as long as they're on a leash and you are holding the dog. We also have many spaces for you to hang out and relax, as you can see on the top right-hand corner in those blue chairs. We also have offered classes for workshops, and we also rent our space for nonprofit organizations. Classes and exhibits. Visitors get close and personal with some of the local wildlife and develop a new appreciation for animals and plant life. Patrons realize many health benefits by enabling them to we encourage you to sign up for workshops that include yoga and meditation. We also have a demonstration garden and a community kitchen, so that you can come and see and experience the many programs that we offer here at the Nature Center. For trails and scenery. So in these pictures, there are many pictures compiled from our Nature Center and from the Park to Playa Trail. The Park to Playa Trail is a 13-mile hike trail that will lead you from Kenneth Hahn Park to Stoneview Nature Center, and then over to the Marina Beach in a 13-mile hike. Stoneview also provides much needed protected habitat for the diverse urban wildlife. We have carefully selected plant species that provide food and homes to many species of birds and reptiles. Stoneview is already home to over 100 species. Stoneview also provides guided nature walks and school tours that focus on the importance of biodiversity of urban wildlife and what we can do to live in harmony with the creatures that share our neighborhood. The park provides a sanctuary for wildlife and the community. While standing at the Fig Overlook, you can see the Hollywood sign and the distance and hear the bustle of La Cienega Boulevard. But all that quickly fades away into the sounds of hummingbirds, red-tailed hawks, and bumblebees as your mind quiets and enjoys a pocket of tranquility. And you can see the many species that we have within the park. We have a lot of butterflies, a lot of bunnies, and of course, squirrels. So these are some of our amazing staff that work at the Nature Center. As you can see over on the top left-hand corner, that is Joanna, and she is showing some of the items on a microscope. Then you see Richard Smart providing and giving a tour. And on to the right-hand side is Braco and Jordan, making sure our grounds are nice and well kept. Over at the bottom, there's Jaden, there's Santiago, and of course myself. And we welcome you with open arms anytime you would like to visit the Nature Center. Overall, the project concept is to still the importance of persevering our environment and to teach people about how they can play an important role in fulfilling such goal. So thank you for your time. This is the information for Stoneview Nature Center, and we welcome you to come and visit us.
Thank you, Tatiana, for representing Stoneview so well and for taking our guest on that beautiful virtual tour. But we're not done talking about Stoneview just yet. Earlier in the video from Placerita Canyon, Frank showed a gopher snake, and I mentioned that it's a part of our Animal Ambassador program. Animal ambassadors are animals that the Nature Center staff take care of, and we typically acquire those animals because those animals have been injured or came from another facility, but those animals are not releasable into the wild for many different reasons. So we take care of, the staff at the Nature Centers will take care of these animals for the length of their life. And some of those animals we're able to work with to show in different educational programs. So there was a big that photo from earlier where my our coworker Colleen, she had a bird of prey on her arm. That's an animal ambassador. The gopher snake is an animal ambassador. Here at Stoneview, we don't really have too many animal ambassadors, but one of our volunteers started a really cool program, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about and show you. First, do you see this awesome person here? This is our volunteer, Paul. He is what I call our butterfly whisperer. And if you look at his photo, he has what's on his face? Butterflies. Yes. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 butterflies on his face. These are monarch butterflies. And as you all know, a lot of things have changed recently in the past year. And last year, we weren't able to give any educational tours and we had to stop our classes and our programs. But Paul said, Richard, I have an idea. If I make some displays showing butterflies, we could still educate people about the importance of butterflies and how Stoneview is a habitat for these awesome animals. Because what do you think? I said, I think that's a great idea. And so we've been doing that. And so I'm going to show you some of these butterflies right now. All right. So this case, as you see here, we have several of these on display. And I'm going to open this one. And right away, I hope you can see this. What animal is this? That is a caterpillar. You're right. And if we look here, slowly starts to focus, we can see more caterpillars. These are monarch caterpillars. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Don't want to get too close because I don't want to disturb them, but I do want y'all to get a chance to see them up close. When you come to Stoneview, you'll see these butterfly displays. And these displays are used for educational purposes. We want people to see we want people to see the life cycle of a butterfly, because some adults have forgotten that caterpillars turn into butterflies. So with this display, we can show people all sorts of different caterpillars. And it gives people a chance to ask us questions about butterflies and caterpillars. It gives a chance for people to share their stories of what they know about butterflies. And it's been a really great effort. And what's neat is this effort, and here, look at this. This is a chrysalis. Some people call them cocoons, but for butterflies, we call them a chrysalis. There is a butterfly in there. And as some of you know, this butterfly here is metamorphosizing into an adult. So in a couple weeks, or maybe not a couple weeks, maybe more like in about 7 more days, this butterfly inside here will emerge, or this monarch will emerge into an adult butterfly, and then we'll release it into the garden. But this whole effort of Paul wanting to create some educational displays featuring monarchs and different butterflies and caterpillars turned into a conservation effort. When you come to Stoneview, you'll probably say, wow, there's so many butterflies here. And part of that is this effort that was led by our volunteer, Paul. Because we are able to find caterpillars in the garden and we put them in these displays, we're able to keep them safe from predators like birds or accidentally stepped on by people, and we are able to provide them with a lot of food. It's interesting, butterflies have to have a host plant, a plant that only that they eat to help them grow big and strong. And it's interesting, when right here is starting to eat, they only really eat one type of plant. So they're very picky eaters, but they're voracious eaters. A caterpillar's job is just to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it has enough energy to metamorphosize into an adult. So sometimes they can run out of food, but Paul, Tatiana, Jordan, Reiko, our other friends, we make sure that we give them plenty of food in these displays so that they can turn into the chrysalis and then turn into the adult. So we have helped increase the local population of monarch butterflies here at Stoneview by making sure that these wonderful caterpillars have a place where they can get a lot of food and grow big and strong. All right. So I want to make sure we have enough time for questions. Tatiana, Jonathan, and I are all on the line. So we'll turn our cameras on. And if you all have any questions for us, please let us know in the chat. We would love to answer your questions.
There's actually a few questions asked already, and I just want to bring it up. So one of the questions is actually referring to Devil's Punchbowl. So we're going to need Jonathan to help us answer this one. Are you planting the regrowth, or are you just letting it naturally grow back?
Yeah, so at the Devil's Punchbowl, it's a very special situation because Devil's Punchbowl had never before burned in recorded history. That just means that as long as people have been around, we haven't had records of a fire going through that area. Of course, we don't know about during the time of Native Americans in the area, but in the last 150 or 200 years, we don't have any records of it burning down. So what happens is a lot of times seeds get buried in the soil over long periods of time, and those will naturally grow back when a fire comes through. And the reason why we didn't actually jump on putting more plant seed in is most seed isn't collected from the area itself. And when you put in seed, even if it's the same species, sometimes there's other variations or hybrids and stuff that get mixed in, and you'd be introducing new plant genetics into the area. So we were pretty confident that a lot of the plants would be coming back relatively well on their own. The only plant that is an exception to that would be the pinyon pine. Lots of pines, when they burn, they have very special like cones that will split open and spread seeds. Well, pinyon pine is a little bit different. The pinyon pine always opens up its cones, and predators to the pinyon seed, like a squirrel or a scrub jay or something like that, will take the seed, and they're kind of greedy, and they'll take more than what they can eat, and they'll hide it. So that natural greed of the scrub jay or the squirrel actually helps the tree spread. Unfortunately, because pinions don't always grow in fire habitats, they don't really have too much of a backup plan for fire. So when a fire comes through, they rely heavily on trees surviving the fire and then producing more seeds, like in isolated pockets, and then the predator animals like the scrub jays and squirrels spreading the seeds out from there. In this case, there are little isolated pockets of pinions that are there. They are very slow growing pines. In fact, they won't start producing cones for about 40 years, meaning this area is not an area that should burn very frequently. Otherwise, it will never return back to the way it was before the fire. Pinion fire cycles can be over 200 years. So
Wow.
it just depends on chaparral cycles can be a lot faster. But even chaparral has a limit. If an area burns every couple years, it could wipe out the chaparral and then lead to it just being grassland. Uh, and a lot of times invasive species of grass can take over an area like that. So we are being cautious about invasive species coming in. We're keeping an eye out on it. So far, we've not seen any more than what we would normally see in regular conditions.
Thank you. So another question was, there was a fox in the video,
Mhm.
and they wanted to know how big is the fox, and do you have an estimation as to how many foxes there are around?
No estimation on the number of foxes because I can't tell if I'm seeing the same fox or many foxes. But probably a good family-sized group, in the local area. This fox is probably about, probably about 2 feet long, and then a little bit more for the tail, or 1.5 feet with the tail, 1.5 foot with the tail.
And then another question that came up, I think it's for Tatiana, when you were talking about the hiking trail, it's they wanted to know, is it attached to the nature center? Like, can you walk through the hiking trail and it gets to the nature center, or is it separate?
Yes, so starting from Kenneth Hahn Park, you'll walk a 6-mile hike in Kenneth Hahn. There is a bridge that goes over La Cienega Boulevard, and then there's a trail that passes through the nature center. So even if you come and visit the nature center first and you park here, you could access that same trail. So it depends on where you would like to go. So if you take a left, then you'll be going to Kenneth Hahn Park. And if you make a right, then you'll be going to the scenic overlook, which you're going to merge onto the Bayona Creek bike path that's going to lead you to the beach. So from here, the distance from here to the beach is a 7-mile hike. But yes, you can access it.
So another question we do have is in regards to the caterpillars. So they wanted to know how old these caterpillars are.
All right, that's an excellent question. And the caterpillars in here are different ages, so it's really interesting. When the caterpillar emerges out of the egg, it's incredibly tiny, like tinier than you're expecting. But as they get older, because remember, their job is to eat and eat, they start to get longer and they get bigger. So the caterpillars that I'm looking at here probably range in age from about 3, 4, 5 days old to some that are definitely over a week and some that are probably getting close to 2 weeks. So not very old for us, but getting pretty old for a caterpillar. The one that's up at the top, one of the first ones I showed you, is definitely the oldest caterpillar in this bunch. And a lot of times when they go up to the top of the enclosure, they're getting ready to start the metamorphosis into the chrysalis. So that one might be closer to about like 10, 14 days old.
It doesn't sound like they're very old, but they look very big.
Exactly.
So I think that might be all of our questions. Let me look through the chat again. Yes, some people have asked for contact information, and we have posted that for the Placerita Canyon Nature Center, the Devil's Punchbowl Nature Center, as well as the Stoneview Nature Center. I think that's it for today. So I do want to say thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you have enjoyed today's program of the tour of LA County Natural Area Parks. And I do want to mention, with the sponsorship from Edison International and LA County Library Foundation, we also have acquired some nature exploration bags, which is pretty awesome. And you can check those out at a few select libraries, and you can visit these nature centers and be a scientist yourself. So it's pretty awesome to do. And I do want to also encourage you, for those who are attending, to please see what upcoming virtual programs we have by visiting our website at lacountylibrary.org. And aside from visiting parks, we also have a cool program called Discover and Go, where you can actually check out museum passes with just your library card. Very awesome to do. So if you get a chance, check that out. And I think that's all we have for today. I hope everyone stays safe and have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you, Richard and Tatiana and Jonathan, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to even see all these videos. It's awesome. And to learn about the nature in general.
Thank you, Anne. So much
Bye.
fun.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Hope to
Bye,
see you at the
everyone.
park.